So this tutorial is a little different. If you didn't notice by scrubbing over the video, it's got a long time. It's like an hour and 40 something minutes. And that's because basically I wanted this to be more like a course than just a YouTube tutorial. A lot of times as a creative, you get kind of boxed in to thinking you need to make everything really short and fast and chop everything up. And honestly, when you do those kind of videos as a teacher, what I notice is that I end up cutting out a lot of stuff that a lot of people actually could learn from, like mistakes and just problem solving and troubleshooting, which is like 99% of being a 3D artist. It's like, how do I make that do what I want it to do? And why isn't this working? So those are the things that I've left in this video. And so we go through this project from very beginning all the way to the finished final product. And if you like that kind of training and stuff, then you'll love my other stuff. And so like, because it's just a big part of learning a new skill. Like you can follow, point and click, do this, and get a result. But, you know, then when you go to make it your own, it's not really there. So I really try to focus on teaching the method rather than just teaching, regurgitate exactly what I just made in this tutorial, because then everybody's tutorial looks the same. And everybody's reel is going to look the same. And that's not really what I want. So speaking of teaching and learning styles and stuff, I want to talk about one tool that I love to use, and that is Skillshare. Skillshare has sponsored this video, and they actually have some amazing classes on here that you can just start your creative journey and become a member and learn and just really just dive into all kinds of stuff. So I have lots of classes on here, and I'm adding more regularly. I'm putting the Ultimate Redshift lighting course on here. That's going on here. And there's just, besides just me, there's a lot of other great teachers and stuff on here to learn Redshift and C4D. One of my favorites is Evelyn Salazar, who I got the chance to talk to during the Mind and Motion workshop. I got to interview her, and she's maybe one of the happiest, nicest people I've ever gotten the chance to talk to. And her stuff is amazing. So definitely check out her C4D stuff. And another thing that Skillshare has that's really cool are these learning paths. And so one that I think will be applicable to a lot of my viewers is this pricing and negotiation for creative freelancers, right? So it's this catered course on figuring out basically, you know, what to charge clients and stuff like that and how to make money. The learning paths are really cool because they're curated playlists basically of like a cohesive idea. So it's like not just one artist, but a bunch of classes put together to teach you something. Like this one, which I'm probably going to take, and basically I definitely need to take, and that is how to promote your personal brand with zero experience, because that is me. And so it's just got a list of all these classes from different teachers and stuff that all go together on how to do different things. So there's a lot of stuff like that. And besides like just 3D stuff that's on Skillshare, I mean, they're adding new one-on-one sessions. They've got animation, creative writing, film, video, art, fine art, graphic design, music, UX, how to freelance, how to market, lifestyle, stuff like that. I mean, honestly, Skillshare is just an amazing place with all kinds of stuff. It's super cool. Editing, drawing, whatever you want. There's something there for everybody. I guarantee it. So definitely check it out. And again, thanks Skillshare for sponsoring this video. It's a great resource for anyone wanting to learn really anything. So with all of that said, all of these resources available, and there's even more. We've barely scratched the surface of what Skillshare has to offer. I will say that the first 500 people to use my link in the description will receive 1 month free trial through Skillshare, and you can get started today. And that means you can take all of my classes, whatever classes that are on there, you can watch all that free of charge for a month. So take advantage of that, the first 500 people. So go ahead and click that before it gets clicked away. So super awesome. All right, let's go back to the video. One thing I want to say is that we do use Kitbash in this video, and if you don't have Kitbash, that's okay. Kitbash Cargo actually has a lot of really great free assets that you can use for this, and the methods I teach you in this can be used with any building or any model. Like you can find wherever you want, but if you do want these really cool Kitbash models, use my link below in the description. That helps me out. It's an affiliate link for me that helps me keep making great, cool content. And I 100% Kitbash is dope. So I think you should check it out. It's like a box of Legos for me. All right, let's get into creating the project. All right, so let's get creating. One thing I want to do is make a ground plane. So we'll go ahead and go to plane. And what I want to do is I want to make it really big. And so I end up making like cities and stuff a lot just because I like to do it. It's like playing with Legos for me. So what I've done is I've created a big O and a city default setup. So the city one is 400,000 centimeters. I can never read. Reading is hard. And then the big O one is 40,000. So city is even bigger, which is what we want. So let me show you how to set that up, because it's really, really easy. So let's go ahead, and what we want to do first, what I like to do when I set up my scene for something like a city and stuff, because I'll set up and I have my square, right? And I'm like, okay, and then I'm like, okay, maybe I'll do lighting or tweak materials and stuff, where I set it all up. And then I realize everything's super small. So it's always a good reference to bring in a figure first. And you're like, oh, okay, so if this was supposed to be my city block, it was going to be like a model or diorama of I almost said diarrhea, of a city block. And basically, we want to make sure this is ginormous, right? Because we want a full city. We want it to be big city. So let's go ahead and go into our plane, and we're going to type in 000, because I can't be bothered to change the forward or anything else. 000. So we've got 400,000. Yes. Okay, in segments, we don't really need that much because it's not that important. We're not going to use segments to do anything. So once you have that set up, what you can do is click this little triangle right here on the very far right and say Save Preset. And then you can just name it like City, which is what I've done here, and hit OK. Yeah, or you can even set it as the default, and you can even do that with things like cubes and stuff like that. So if you know you're going to bring in cubes and you almost always fillet them, you can just go ahead and just add that fillet and then save that as, the cube with 1 and say save as default. And so now whenever you create a cube, you just hit this cube button, it's going to add your cube with the fillet. So nice little quick tip there. But we've got our plane, and so now we can just drop down this arrow and choose our city one, which makes it huge. So one thing you may notice when things are huge like this is if we zoom out, so right click and hold Alt and pull back, it doesn't look right? Like it's clipping, right? And that's called view clipping. That's exactly what it's doing. So we're not actually able to see our entire cube. So what we need to do, our plane, we need to hit Control D, and that opens up the project. And then we go into the display right here underneath the project. And here we have view clipping. And what I want to do is I'm going to change it from medium to huge. So huge, and that's going to allow us to actually see our entire thing. So now we are able to see everything. And, the reason it defaults to medium, originally, like Cinema 40 wasn't the best at handling giant things and a lot of polygons and stuff. But now in 2024, it's actually kind of fire at handling that much stuff. And so our viewport response is way, way better. So now we can actually, zoom out and have this giant cityscape, which is pretty cool, right? Okay, so now let's go ahead and bring in Kitbash. Now, I mentioned this earlier. There's a link to Kitbash below. An affiliate link doesn't get you a discount or anything, but it does get me some commish. And the more commission I get, the more free content I can make. So it just really would help me out if you do enjoy Kitbash. I could say that I love Kitbash. Kitbash is like a box of Legos for me. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to extensions and go down here to cargo. And there are free assets in here, even if you don't own Kitbash. And I'll also show you, this isn't just going to be about using Kitbash to create stuff. Like you can use these methods with any models, any cities. You can download free buildings and stuff. But let's go ahead and we're going to choose Redshift standard material because that's what we want. Say connect, okay. And then we can open up Kitbash. Whoop, cargo Kitbash. And there's just some cool ones like, so the key that when you're looking for something to create a cityscape, let's go ahead and look through the free models just so I can show you just some red flags. So there's things you want to avoid that a lot of beginners fall into, and I definitely fell into early on. And that's when you see things that are like super cool looking and like really unique, like this Atom Punk tower, right? Because what we want to do is we're building a city that's going to be very repetitive, but it's not going to look repetitive. And the key to that is to get things that all kind of look alike but different enough. So when you plop in these like really pretty outliers that like right in focus or right in a good spot or wherever you want them, and those kind of steal the show. So those aren't repeating, but the rest of the default stuff or the more blendable stuff is repeating. So what I mean by that is stuff like this building, too fancy. This building, we could repeat. This building, too fancy. And most of the free stuff is going to be kind of those really cool ones that make you want to buy it, but not really the cool ones that make you want to, that allows you to tile and repeat. But like this, that you could definitely repeat. This, you could repeat. This would stand out a little bit, but you might could repeat it. This is perfect. Like just anything boxy that you can rinse and repeat, that's perfect. So that's what we're looking for. But what we're going to do is go to a really cool one, which is the kit. Brutalist 2055 is a really cool one. And don't feel like you're locked into any kit. Like you can mix things together. But even here, I mean, there's some ones like if you repeated this, it would obviously show up. But you grab one of these and slap it in there in the middle real big, like bigger than the rest of your city. That'll look cool. Anyway, what I want to do is go to the kit. And I want to go down to one, it's really far down here actually. It's way down here. There's so many you could do. Like you can grab stuff from all over. I know every city is a really great one because it's kind of like exactly what we're looking for is just kind of generic buildings that don't stand out, but there's a few that do, that kind of thing. Industrial's cool, but what we're looking for is sci-fi industrial. And the reason I really like this is because just looking at these, you can see that they all kind of look alike. Like nothing has anything like flashy, poppy. All the colors are kind of similar. So when you start tiling these together, you can make a really good, easy base foundation. Now, what we're going to do in this tutorial, like step by step, which is just create a super quick cityscape, like fast. Like say you just want to make something cool and fun just for your background or a loop, whatever you want to do. This is the way. This is the way. So what we're going to do is we're going to start just clicking these, and we're going to go ahead and just say 2K, and we're going to make sure we choose Cinema 4D here. And the reason we're doing 2K instead of 4 is we're not going to do any like tight macro shots of anything. We could probably get away with 1K, but we'll do 2K just for the sake of, for no real reason, just in case we do want to zoom in. And then you just click import, and you just select the ones that we have here, and you just go in and do one at a time. So we're just going to grab a bunch of these that look very similar. We're going to get a lot of the boxy ones and a lot of these through there. So that's what we're going to grab, and we're just looking for buildings that aren't like super unique, but they are all different. So we'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll catch back up. So before we bring these in, a couple quick tips to make things just a little more successful, because we are bringing in a bunch of materials and polygons and stuff. So let's just set up our scene so that it has to work the least when we're importing these. Because if you have it like cranking out a bunch of stuff and building all the material previews and all this stuff all at once, it can take a little longer to basically drag and drop these in, but you just hit import. But basically all we're going to do is we're going to go in here, we're going to close this. That way we don't have to look at any materials being added or bringing in, because it's going to build all those previews for us. And we don't want it to do that. We're going to go to preferences, and we are going to go to renderer Redshift, and we are going to come down here, and we're going to go ahead and say no material presets. We're going to make sure that's on for this, because that's what they're all coming in as. And then material previews, we're going to go ahead and turn it off, because we don't need to see that right now. And that's just going to help this kind of cook a little quicker, right? Then we're going to go to display, and instead of this shading, we're just going to go to constant shading. It's not going to make that big a difference, but every little bit helps when you're bringing in a bunch of big assets. So let's go ahead and open up this now, and we can go ahead and start just grabbing these and just kind of go in order and drag and drop them in. By that, I mean click import. So we click import, and then we wait for it to pop up. And it does take a few seconds, yeah, which I mean, it's the same with importing any file like that. At least it doesn't have to open up a new scene and then you copy and paste it in, that kind of thing. There it is. Boom. So now we get a sense of scale, right? So we've got our little guy here, right? Let's go ahead and zoom in, and let's grab our little placement tool, and let's put our dude right here. There he is. So now you can kind of get a sense of scale, that this is scaled correctly. He's about as big as that door. And these buildings are massive, right? So this is really, really cool. So I am going to add one thing in real quick, just because it's just so nice. We're going to go ahead and add a sun. So Redshift Sun and Sky. Then we're going to right click, and we're going to go down here, and we're going to go to render tags. And this is what makes the Redshift Sun awesome, right? So it's pretty neat, but kind of confusing and wonky to use by default. But with this sun expression, as this tag on it, where literally all we do now is click and drag, or set in the specific time, and you can make it like that golden hour right away. So there we go. Let's do like 20 o'clock, which is like, what is that, 8:45 American. But you can choose like what day, what time of the year. You can do current time. You can animate the dates. So you can actually just make it go like time lapse for years, all that stuff. So one thing I want to do now is, if you notice, if you've ever messed with the sun and sky, it's just kind of wonky. Like, what am I looking at here with these axes doing this? So we're just going to grab a null and throw that in a null, because it just makes it easier to rotate around and stuff without getting wonky. So right now what we'll do is we'll hit Redshift Render View, and we just want to see what angle the sun's coming in, just because I like to do this. Do you need to do this before you bring in all your assets? No, but we're going to do it anyway. But look at that. Boom. We instantly have like this nice backlight coming in. That's pretty cool. So if you grab this null and rotate it around, let's bring it a little further back, not completely behind, but more like maybe like so. Ooh, yeah, front. Let's make it in the front for now. Just to light up these buildings, not that much in the front. I want a little side profile. There we go, like that. So you get this nice kind of daylight effect going on. And if you come in here and you notice we have our horizon line and stuff, we'll deal with all that in just a little bit. But it's really cool just to come in here and just tweak the lighting. So you're like, okay, what's it look like at 3:30? Oh, it's much brighter, much more in the afternoon. And then let's say 9 o'clock. Okay, we're getting a little darker. Ooh, now it's nighttime, right? So pretty cool that it just has that very cool golden hour built in right there, right? So we're not setting this up right now, but we're just getting it close. And I think this is a really cool thing to do for exteriors. It just looks fantastic, and we can tweak it all in a little bit. Okay, so now let's just keep bringing in these assets. Okay, after you have all of that in, I highly, highly suggest you hit save. We're going to go ahead and save that. Just because you don't want to go through the process of doing that again. So one thing I would say I would like to see from Kitbash is the ability to shift click a bunch of these and batch import. That's not really a thing you can do right now. Would it be any faster? I mean, probably not, but I would be able to just do it and then walk away and come back, and that's what I would really like to see in a future update. But right now, you may notice when I was doing that, I don't know if you could tell in the time lapse, but basically I would import it, I'd wait for it to pop up in the window here to make sure it's there, and then do the next one. When you start stacking them up and queuing them up, right now in the early stages of 1.1.4, it doesn't love that, and it can crash. Not crash, but just makes you redo it. And so it's just annoying. So it's easier just to do that, which is, in there. Cool. Okay, so now we see we have all of these buildings. They're all shoved in here. Now you can see this one right here, which when you click it, you can see is this one. This one is kind of like a monster, right? Like it's unique, it stands out. So we're going to take that one and just kind of put it over here to the side for now and turn it off in the viewport. And the render view as well by double clicking these little dots. And we just want to make sure that we don't have anything else that really stands out. Everything should be about the same. What's this one doing? Is that what that one looks like? Yeah, that's not too bad. I can live with that. So the rest of these are all kind of about the same. We don't want to be identical, but we just didn't want them. You want to get those ones that really stand out of the way, because when you start looping these and stuff, it's going to be pretty wonky. So here's the real meat of the tutorial, right? Let's go ahead and change this to 1080 so we can see. So rather than coming in here and just throwing all of these in a cloner and, just upping the count of these, setting it to multi-instance, and upping the count, and then just spreading it out, and a couple of zeros, instead of doing something like that, right? Because what happens is, it's that kind of works. We can change this to random. It looks okay, but we're clipping into each other. We've got a lot of variation in building size. So what we want to do is we want to kind of group these together, and or just tweak some that aren't quite as big. But basically, you would throw it in a cloner and you scale it out and you set it to random rotation. But then when you set it to random rotation with an effector, your buildings don't really look right. Basically, they're at weird angles that buildings wouldn't be, and you want them to be step rotation. And there's actually a really, really easy way to fix this. So we're just going to talk about just tricks that make this so much simpler. So what we're going to do is we're going to just get rid of our cloner, and we're just going to break these apart a little bit. And we're just going to, just start pulling them away from each other. It doesn't matter where they are in space, because once we put them in the cloner, it's going to reorient them all. So we just want to make sure that what we did grab is what we want. And you can see some of these buildings are little bitty. And you can tell by there's mid, which is medium, SM, which is small, and LG, which is large. So actually, we could just come in here and just select them. So let's go ahead and grab all our larges, and we'll pull them over here. Cool. And then we can have all of our mediums like this, and we'll pull them over there, right? And we'll grab all of our smalls, which are just these two. And honestly, we'll just delete them because we don't want the small buildings in here, honestly. And the difference between medium and large is pretty ridiculous. So there's a couple things we could do. It depends on how you want your city to look. Now, for a conceptual, just cool looking background city, I think we can just grab these and scale them up until they're like about as big as the largest, right? Like, they don't need to be as big, but I don't think it's going to look weird because these are so stylized. So we can just do that. Otherwise, what I would do is just try to find more large buildings or more small ones, and then build them out a little separately. So let's go ahead and we'll grab all these medium ones that we scaled up, and we'll just set them all back to 0, 0, 0. Okay, so now we have this kind of set up how we like. What I want to do is grab all of these, and what I'm going to do is, with all of these selected, there's a few that really stand out, right? So you can see just from the beginning that this one here, this one, C here, is just going to be a little obvious because it has such a unique shape. And then there's this one that has this big smokestack. What we're going to do is we're going to copy that one and go into it and just delete the smokestacks off it. Just going to delete some of these. Just going to tweak it a little bit so it's not identical, right? Not bad. Okay, cool. And so then for this C, what we're going to do is we're going to take everything besides the base one here, which is this H, and that's C. And we're going to grab everything else except those two very unique ones and just hit Control C, Control V, just to copy them. Just to make double the amount of those, which is just basically when you throw all this in a cloner, going to half the amount of those really unique ones, right? So we're going to get more of the ones that kind of blend together more. And we're going to do it one more time, Control V, and that way we have 3 times the amount of normal ones and 1/3 the amount of unique ones. Cool, cool. So now with all of these, we're going to select all of them, go in here and make them all set to 0, 0, 0, which is perfect. And now we're going to do something interesting, which is we're going to copy and paste them again. So this time we're going to hit Control C, Control V, and paste all of them. And with all of these still selected, I'm going to make sure I go into my working pivot, my enable axis button up here, and go to rotate. And I want to make sure per object transform is on. And I'm going to hold shift and rotate these on the the Y axis 90 degrees. And that's it. You hold shift and click and rotate, and then rinse and repeat. Control C, Control V, hold shift 90 degrees, same direction, Control C, Control V, shift 90 degrees. And so why have we done that? Well, now we're actually going to we've created instances of each of these that are offset 90 degrees, like instead of like this. So if we just took all of our objects, threw them in the cloner, they'd all be like this, right? And we'd have to add some randomness to the rotation to get them to rotate. But now, because we have them all like this and that, when it sends them all out throughout the cloner, they're all going to be rotated randomly at 90 degrees already for us. So that will make sense here in a second. So throw these all in a cloner, right? All of these, we're going to hit save. There we go. And we're going to grab all these, throw it in a cloner. And we're going to set this cloner. We'll leave it at grid right now. And we're going to change it to multi-instance. And we're going to say about 10 and 10 in this. And we're just going to scale these up until they're apart from each other, which is probably going to be like, I don't know, 8,000 by 8,000. And there we go. So now we'll probably need to space them out a little more. but we're going to change it off iterate and change it to random. And there we go. But now you can see, because we rotated those pivot points, we actually have this building and this building next to each other, but they don't look like identical copies of each other because they are rotated, right? They're rotated versions of each other. Some have the smokestack, some don't. Very, very nice. And most of these buildings are pretty good looking, so not too shabby. We've got some good variation, and everything's looking pretty good and pretty spaced well. So now we can really start to play around with this and make it look more like a full-fledged city, right? So the cool part is we've got random rotations of things all over the place, and we can just come in here, and if we want to increase this, whoop, we'll say like 50 by 50, which is, you know, how many? That's a ton of buildings, and it's all working pretty well. There's a little lag, but we're getting some nice detail. And if you think there's too many of these like big chunky buildings, you can just find a few of them and delete them out, that kind of thing, and hide them so we have more of the other thing. But basically, what we can do is now start just messing with this. So let's go ahead and go to MoGraph and make it look a little more distinct by going in here to the random effector. And we don't actually want to offset the position of these at all, or the rotation. We actually want to go ahead and do it in the scale. And we don't want to do it in the uniform scale either. We just want to go in the Y. And we're going to say like 0.5. And yes, it's going to stretch some stuff, but it actually looks really good with this material. So, you know, this is where framing and things come into play, right? So this is where I would say, okay, I'm going to create my camera. And do I want to do like an 18mm wide angle lens? Like, do I need a nice cityscape? Or do I want to do like an isometric look with like a 300 focal length lens? And I come in here like this, and do I really need to start like changing the seed and spreading things out? Or am I going to do it more like this? You know, is it going to look cool? Do things need to be even more random, right? And that's kind of where you just come in here and you can just start picking and choosing buildings and deleting them out. And that's going to give you entirely different looks, right? And so really, we just want some of these big chonker ones, like these large buildings, and just delete them. And that should give us a different look. We'll grab another large building here from this one, delete that. And now we just have a more dynamic skyline, right? And you can always just come in here to your cloner and change the seed again. And that's going to give you just an entirely different look. And if you want, you could come in here and, you know, filter all these out through, we've got all our medium buildings, and hit Control-C, Control-V, and bring those back into the cloner, and grab some more medium buildings, Control-C, Control-V, slide them back into the cloner. And it's just going to give us more small buildings and less large buildings. Delete this large building, maybe delete that large building. And that's just going to give us a more dynamic kind of scene. So we have more, you know, small buildings and large buildings like so. Pretty cool. So we have a little, you know, it's different. We didn't scale everything out this way. We can play with that and see what that looks like. We'll say like 0.1 and 0.1, and maybe that changes, maybe 0.5, 0.5, and maybe that creates some scale issues, but then you start getting things that look just kind of weird and unnatural when you start missing. Buildings are normally like the same size this way, but they just get taller, right? For the most part. It's a very loose logic answer, but we've got a really nice dynamic city here. And again, we can come in here with our camera, change this to like a 24, and we've got this super dense city, right? So if we wanted to, we could come in here and we've got this nice overtop view. We can see the horizon. We've got our city. We've got all this stuff, and nothing's like really overlapping too much to the point where it's bad. And we can, again, change the seed. If you get your camera kind of set up where you want it, we can turn our big building back on that we liked that was pretty unique. And let's bring it back. Let's bring it like over here. So this is our cool big one. And maybe we just make this like a monolith right in the middle. So you want something that's like that spot that draws your eye to. So we could do like a pyramid or just a big old corporate building. And you can add in a couple different buildings. But what we've built is like the surrounding area, right? So we'll put this kind of like here. And we're just going to shove it in there. We're just going to make it big like that. Because that looks cool. And obviously it's clipping in a little bit. So we're going to slide it over And we're just going to make sure we cover up some of those cities and nothing's clipping into it when it comes to the buildings that we can see here in the next bit. So like that, maybe. That looks cool, right? Neat. Okay, so that's a good spot. We'll save that. We'll go ahead and add our sun in here because I think I deleted it on accident. Again, our sun, we're going to right click, go to render tags and sun expression. And we're going to make it like 730-ish and throw that in a null so I can rotate it around easier. Redshift render view. And I will need to mess with the horizon line because I don't want to see that. And then you start thinking, well, what if I want a sky map instead of a sun? Then you don't use the redshift sky. You use an infinite light and a dome light for the sky. Okay, that's the solution. But we're going to use the RS sky because we're going to cover everything up with fog anyway. So we wouldn't really be able to see anything. Anyway, look how cool that is. Very cool. So this looks kind of silly because it stands out such a monolith. So let's get down and make our camera angle a little tighter, like 150, right? And I want to zoom out and I want to kind of be, I want to see just the vastness of this city and have that big building like that. Maybe come in a bit. Maybe I do want a 24. And we're just playing around with different cameras right now. And this is part of the process. Like I'm just having fun working on framing. It's not too shabby, right? That's pretty cool. I'm into that. Cool. So now let's take our sun and let's just start counting down the time. Now you could just animate this and obviously you'd have your sun setting. Refresh. I had a sun and sky in here. I didn't delete it. I just hid it. And so I was just adding in an extra sun. That was confusing me. So this sun, let's just make it a little more like the evening, like 7:45. Woo! That's nice. That's too late though. Let's back it up 7:30. Maybe like so. And we'll rotate it. Oops. We'll rotate our null just so we can kind of see our sun. I want it to kind of be off on the side like that. Yeah. I like this, maybe not that side cascadey. Maybe like not directly into the sun like that. Okay, we'll go into our sun settings here and we'll go into the RS sky and we're going to go to the sun scale and crank it up. I just want it to be bigger. The only thing that's annoying about this is it doesn't actually change the reflections. So you have to be careful with that. All right, so but this is looking pretty cool. Now, we don't have a lot of light. It's too dark, right? So, but we'll fix that. We're going to save that. What we're going to do is go to Redshift, Object, Environment. Boom. And now we have fog, right? And that's too intense, so we're going to lower the scattering down to 0.001. Still too intense, not a problem. Go into our RS Sun, go to Details, and in here we have the contribution of the volume. I'm going to take that down. Take that down to like 0.01. And now we have this nice city fog coming in, which is pretty cool. Right? So honestly, you could leave it at that, and that's a pretty cool looking shot, but I want to take it one further. I want to make it more nighttime. So I'm going to go in here. I'm going to make it a little later. Like that. I like that a lot. And then we can come back into our sun and just kind of crank up this volume just a bit more. Maybe like that. Not that high, but 0.1. I like having that fog kind of coming across the city. I think that's going to look pretty cool. So, but I don't want it to be that even. I want that fog to be kind of cloudy. So what I'm going to do is create a new material. Open up our material manager here. We'll just double click in here and grab that and throw that on our environment. Now it's not going to do anything at first. What I need to do is actually just delete this and say C and type in noise. I'm going to grab a max on noise. Whoop. And what I want to do is actually plug this straight into volume, not environment, even though we're putting it on this environment. We actually put it on volume because that's how it's going to work. Now, in the volume, we need to like up the scale of this to like 2500 because we want it to be like big chunks. And for the sake of this, we're going to actually add in a ramp because it's just easier to control the grayscale values of this. And the way it's going to work is everything that's white is going to be given a fog value, and everything that's black is going to be see-through. So we need to choose a nice looking noise like turbulence. And we're going to just clamp this down. So we really start to have like things that are smoke and things that aren't. And the scale is really going to come down to just guessing, right? So if we make this really small, like 1, we're not going to see anything going on here at all. And it just kind of sucks that this is the way we have to do it. But what I do want to do is make sure that I do have that volume scattering just cranked up a bit, just so that I can see it a little easier. And what I want to do is come in here and just add a 0 here. And we want to start seeing chunks. So see at 5,000, we see we have some actual like noise. So let's go ahead and just go to 15,000. And now we're going to have like big pockets of noise here, a little bigger. And let's start scaling those around. Let's go ahead and say the scale in one direction would be like 0.1. Let's see what that looks like. I don't like that. Go back to 1, say 0.1 in this direction. And that gives us this nice kind of hazy look. So I kind of like that, but it's too extreme. So again, we go back to our noise. And instead of 0.1, we do maybe like 0.5. And so it's just going to be stretched this way a little more, maybe 0.2. So you can have kind of that haze, and just keep upping the scale of this 3,500. There we go. So now we kind of have this like hazy fog going through our city, right? And so now we can adjust it, and we say, okay, it's too intense, lower that down. So we just kind of have this little bit of haze just lingering throughout our whole city. And yes, it's volumetric, so it's throughout the entire city, which is pretty cool. So we have this nice fog, but we don't really have like a haze. And I want to have like a nice haze through my city as well. So that's where this fog comes in. I know it all gets kind of confusing. There's environment, there's volumetric scattering, there's fog. And they're all doing the same thing, but they're all doing different things. It's a lot. So what I want to do with this fog is change it to like this kind of subtle brightish orange, like an orangish red. And when I do that, nothing's going to happen. But if I start playing with the attenuation here, it's going to bring in that Blade Runner style haze. So the original volume scattering of our environment is creating these nice like pockets of denser fog, like clouds, kind of. And then our fog is working as like a haze, which is really how I wish that they were called. I wish this was fog and this was haze, because you can't add this noise into the fog. I don't know why I'm saying it like that. But I like this depth, but I don't like how intense it is. So I'm going to say 0.001 and maybe even lower, 0.0005. So half that. And maybe even all the way down to 0.0001. So that's just giving us kind of this, we'll do like 5.0005. Yeah, because I like having this kind of haze between the buildings and stuff. But we've lost our sun, and I like the way our sun looked. So what do we need to do now? Well, what I want to do is just basically adjust the height here. So if I only wanted this fog to be like, on the ground, you can actually just do that and just set it to like 1500 or something, or maybe keep it lower, and that's just going to raise it up off the ground. But I actually don't want it to be like that. I want it to go all the way up. You can see as I get to like 10,000, we're seeing it down here. Only the fog only in the streets down here, and it just looks kind of cool, but kind of weird at the same time. It doesn't look right. So we have all this fog up here, but not down here. So what we want to do is actually just enter just a ridiculously big number here, like 25,000, to see what that looks like, and just keep cranking it up until we get all the way up above. There we go. So let's say 35,000 1,000. And so now we've got our haze throughout our whole city. We've got our fog noise going on, and we can still see our sunlight peeking back there. So if you ever have a cool looking background and you want to see it through your fog and haze, you have to just make your height go up. If your height's at 0, it's infinite, and it's for whatever reason, it just cuts off the background. But when you create your height up really high, you can create it. Now, I'm going to go back into our mat here and just crank up the scale of our noise even more, maybe like 65,000, because I think our pockets are looking a little funny. And now we have kind of these bigger, lingering little bits of fog, and I think that looks way cooler. Let's take this to say 0.2 and just see if that looks weird. If I stretch those two out, I think that might look funky. Yeah. So let's not do that. Maybe we can lower this one down to 0.2. And I just want to create these like pockets of haze and like more dense fog. No, that didn't look right either. There we go. And we can just, if you want it to be more hazy or foggy, you bring this ramp down. Too hazy, foggy, you clamp it up. And we're just back to our haze, which does look really cool. But let's bring that noisy fog back in and maybe clamp it so it's like a little stronger, but a little less at the same time. Like that. So we have these little pockets, but just not very often. And I think that looks pretty cool. Okay, cool. So we've got that going on. If you want, you can actually even change, the color of this. Like you could tint this to be more like a blue, and this to be more of like a bluish color if you wanted, and create kind of a different vibe altogether. And so you really now have a bunch of creative control over that. But let's go ahead and just make it look even cooler let's go ahead and do the part that's going to make it even cooler, which is going to be to just add random pockets of light throughout your city, and also maybe make it just a tad bit later in the day, like 8:15. Not too bad. Nighttime's not awful, but we're going to go back maybe just straight up 10 o'clock. Just peaking there. Let's go a little before. Like that. And the cool thing is, like, if we come back here, we do like 4 o'clock in the morning, obviously we're going to get a lot more of that light hitting this side of our fog. But you can just come in here and change it, and you might need to tweak the amount that our fog is scattering and stuff, but it is all just going to react to our scene. But our haze is going to stay the same regardless, and that's kind of the main difference. So let's say 8 minutes till 10. And obviously yours may be different. It's based on the day and that kind of thing. Pretty cool. You can change the city, like what time it is in. It's bizarre. This place different. That's what it looks like there at that time. I honestly kind of like it without, just like that, without the sun altogether. I think that looks pretty sick. So we have this cool haze going on, and we can mess with it, and we can make it less colored. And yeah, it looks really cool colored like this, but let's go ahead and just make it more like a grayish smog, like that. And this is really where things are going to start popping off and making it really stylized, okay? Okay, so it still doesn't look like the thumbnail yet, right? So let's talk about, like, why am I leaving stuff in there that's not getting me exactly to the result? Well, I think a lot of content creators and teachers out there and stuff, and me included, especially when I started out, and what I've kind of learned over the years to kind of change it and stop doing it, is that there is a lot of learning that is cut out of YouTube videos. And I think some of those moments where you're adjusting things and tweaking things and really troubleshooting, that's really where a lot of the learning happens. It's like, because when you go to make a project, if you want to make exactly what I make, and I come in here with this tutorial and I say, okay, do this, do this, do this, do this, yes, you'll have my product and you'll have the scene made and so will everybody else that does it. But if I teach you how to make it on your own and make it your own, then your end result won't look like everybody else's, but you won't be able to just type in what I type in, and I can't just tell you what to type in. So what I do is I create, I leave in these mistakes, because what's going to happen is when you go to make this on your own with your different models and things, you're going to have mistakes. I guarantee it, because I'd say 99% of Cinema 4D and or just 3D art in general is troubleshooting and figuring out why this is doing this and how to fix this. And so leaving those little moments in here where you watch me troubleshoot, I think is really important. And I've been told it's important and that people really enjoyed it. I was always very anxious to leave that in there, because like showing, if you, as a teacher, I shouldn't ever make mistakes, right? I should just tell you exactly what to do so you can learn it. That's just not real, and that's not what I'm about. So I want to make sure that you just follow along and actually learn. So if you like that kind of stuff, give a thumbs up and like. It helps a lot, and I appreciate it. But let's go ahead and keep tweaking this and keep working on it even more, because I'm got a happy little accent going on with all this. Cool. So let's go into our fog material, and let's lower this down just so we have kind of more of that haze coming in. And maybe with our environment, maybe we can like up it to 1 and get, we'll see. But we'll leave it at 0.1 for right now, because we're not having any light really affect our fog. So let's add some extra light. We've got kind of a cool nighttime vibe going on here. Let's go ahead and create an area light. And let's just make it easy on ourselves. We'll grab the placement tool and we'll put it right here on this building, right here on the side. And there we go. It's going to look kind of weird, but that's fine. Whoops, now we've clicked off. Let's just use our placement tool and put it right here on top of this roof. There we go. So now we have a little light here, and it is blasting. So let's go ahead and make this like 0.1, much smaller. Let's just do 1 for now. Cool. So we have this little cool spotlight here. And what I want to do is I actually want this to be rotated. So I want it to be pointing up. So we're going to hit R and rotate it, hold Shift so we can do it 90 degrees. And then I want to scale it up. I want to make like big lights. So I want these lights to act like lights from the street, because that's what looks so cool in all these cities, is when you have this like street light coming up. So we've created this, and what we're going to do is we're just going to push it down and over to the side, and we'll keep it about right here for right now while we're tweaking on it. And right now it's like, way too much, right? Well, let's go in here to the details, and we could hone it in, like tighten the spread of it, but then it's like just silly. So we'll keep it at 1. And we'll go to the details tab, and we'll just go into the volume attribution here, set it to like 0.1, and maybe even lower, like 0.001. There we go. So now we kind of have this haze 0.005. Yeah. So now we could take this and pull it down, right? Just kind of have it lower. So we have like the lighting effect of it kind of lighting up our buildings a little bit, and it's going to make our city feel a little more alive, especially if we come in here and change this to like a pink. Now that's cool. Okay, well let's grab that. Let's lock this view here and go out of our camera. No, go back to the camera, Redshift camera, lock it. Okay, and then we can leave our camera, and we can see where we're working here, like so. And we can grab this, hold Control, and move it over here, maybe just a little further back, scale it up, and maybe change it to be blue. Blue, yeah. Scale it, push it down like that. Man, maybe we scaled it up too much. Tighten it back up. And then copy again, bring it over like here, change it to like an orange. So I think that looks good. Fatten it back up. Maybe move it a little more this way. Maybe more over here. Let's see. And we're just looking for these little pockets, these little gaps. It's really hard to tell what the heck I'm doing. Let's go to our upper view. Let's slide this over here. Dock it. Like so. close this, come in here, and there we go. I've shrunk it down or something. Something's off. Delete that one. Go back to our original pink one. Kind of get an idea of where our camera's looking here. And we'll go more this way. Find a gap here. We'll let go. We'll say this one's going to be orange. We can crank up the brightness of that one if we want. But I don't think we need to. We can keep it down like that. Pull it down a bit maybe. Little nice glow there. This pink one might be a little too intense. What if we do like a blue? Like that. Let's grab. I don't like that. Let's grab this one. Let's move it in this little pocket right here. There's like a gap of buildings. And we'll change it to pink. Yeah. And then we can grab this orange one and just look for another pocket somewhere like so. Here. Make it purpley pink. Probably be fine. Increase the intensity of that if you want. Probably not though. Again. And you also don't have to aim it up. You can aim it like to the right if you want. Or whatever. And increase that and really just blast it through the streets. But let's just copy all of these. And just like copy them, move them around. Should just make our city feel a little more alive. Copy those, move them around. You can alternate the colors a little bit on some of these. Maybe do like a red. Maybe do like a yellow. I don't want it to be too colorful though. I like just a tone. These two oranges too close together. And then we definitely want to put a couple on our big building, which is here, right? So let's grab like our red one, copy it over here, slide it back over here. We can make this one big. Let's just do like a whole big red area around the red building. Could try to like light it. And we start getting into our fog too much. Don't like that. Tighten it up. Tighten it up. Tighten it up. Tighten it up. Do like just a blue, I think. Even actually just a white might look really nice. And just take it down. Woo, look at our side view here. And just hit W for the world. And slide it down. Make it wide. I want it to be like the width of the building. Like that. Maybe something like that. Maybe we can take that one and tighten it a bit. Make it more like warm. It's not bad. It's pretty cool. Let's take our fog and just make it like kind of blue, right? Because that's cool. And let's take our light here and let's just make it a little more daytime. And we can replace this light with a different light. Because, I mean, that doesn't look right? It's not good. We'll do it like that. We'll just keep it as a nice kind of nighttime vibe, right? Okay. I'm pretty happy with that. Let's grab some of these lights. I think they're too high. Lower. A few of these are close. Bring that down. This one, I think. Yeah. That was the main one I wanted to get out of the way. So this looks pretty cool. Let's go back into our fog here. Okay, let's go into our material here and play around with this. Let's ramp it up. See if we can make it a little more dramatic, little more foggy. Pull this down like that. And maybe we come in here and we take it from that and replace it to 85,000. Do I like that better? No, let's do 125,000. That looks pretty cool. I like the cloudiness and stuff. So now we finally got it to a point where I like. And then so now what I do is I want to go into our material here, and this one's called lights. Scroll down, go to emission, and type in like 50. And that's just going to make all these little lights like really bright. So now we can come in here to the post effects with this little gear, turn on bloom. And now we're going to have that nice glow from that because those lights don't affect our scene. We can lower the threshold of that down if we want. Really get some nice glow on those if we want to, like that. And there might be some more panels lights here. Is that going to do? Yeah, so we can like actually make our building edges glow if we want. We could say like 3 and do like a Tron kind of blue if you wanted to. Maybe purple. And then increase the weight of that. Yeah. Maybe 5. 10. That's pretty cool. I like that. And then I would like to turn on streak as well, because I think that's just cool, but I only want one streak. And I want it to be 180 degrees. So I want it to be a long tail, so it's like a nice lens flare like that. Pretty cool. Yeah, and then let's go ahead to our environment and go down here to the GI and crank this up to 5. And that's just going to help all of our buildings and stuff light up a lot better because our light's going to bounce around in our fog and stuff much more, which is just going to give us a nice brighter look. Pretty cool. I think the purple. I don't know about the purple. What's tech do? What's this? What about this? If I say 50 on this? Oh. Okay. Panels, lights. What if I make that blue? Pink. It's not bad. Orange. That's kind of cool. Let's do like blue and maybe like 4. I think that looks cool. I like that. You probably could come in and like tweak a couple and make it. You could go in there and make a couple that are purple, make a couple that are that, this or that. Yeah, could do that earlier on. But that's pretty cool. And then let's go ahead and I'm pretty happy with that, honestly. It's something about the sky I'm not crazy about. So we're going to save. Okay. So now that we've got everything looking pretty cool, I'm going to just copy my camera. Make a new camera setting. We'll do like 150 and zoom out and do like we'll do like one of these. I know it's really small. Sorry. There we go. And we'll go like that and do like one of these kind of vibes. And we're just going to take a look at what that looks like. I want to make sure I unlock it. That looks cool. I thought the tech was going to be like too much, the light panels, but I dig it. That looks pretty sick. Neat. Okay, so now here's what I want to do. I want to go back to my original camera, and I want to play around with the skylighting. Because, yeah, we set it all up, but maybe I want to tweak it. I don't know. This is all part of the process. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to save before we screw everything up. And we're going to go ahead and add a dome light and turn off our sun. No, turn that off. Dome light. And we're going over here to the asset browser, and we're going to type in HDRI. And we're going to choose this evening sun, slide it in here. And it may still be blown out, but we'll tweak that. Wait for it. Go into the details panel of our dome light, volume 0.1. We might have to go even lower. We'll see. Hit refresh. Okay, it's still blown out. 0.001. There we go. So now you see we get a lot more of our fog in that one. And I'm not sure if I like that or not. So if I rotate this around, so our sun is kind of like that, right? That's kind of cool. Let's take this and go into our object, go to the color of this and kind of tint it just a little purple. It's a little more purple on our clouds. And go into our cloud material, which I call it clouds. It's actually just our noise. And I'm just going to spread it out again. Once again, scale it up. I'm going to say 185,000. I'm going to be bigger. Like that. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So now, we have that look. We can go into our isometric look, and we might have just too much cloud at that point. So that's kind of where you have to do a balance between the environment lights and the cloud. And we can lower that down. Maybe that'll look better this way as well. And see, right now, there's too much a balance between the night sky and that. I think what I need to do is flip my dome light around. And I think it'll look better. Oh, God. If I put our sun basically on the other side, where it's kind of hitting our buildings, it'll be better. So it's kind of got that, but I don't like it. That's okay if we don't like it. We don't want to force it. Okay, that's not too bad. Maybe we do like an orange. That's disgusting. That. Like a blue. Like this. Maybe like a pink. Somewhere in between here. Yeah. We'll just do like 2.5 for the intensity after we rotate that dome light around. And that's not too shabby. Let's see what it looks like from the big top down. So I think you would adjust the fog amount for that. Okay, anyway. So now we say, all right, do we like this, or would we rather just have, kind of a simplified sky, and maybe we turn our sun and sky off, and we just have the dome lights up here, and maybe just that dome light's not very bright, like 0.5, and it's kind of just there to give us that background, and that's not too bad either. I kind of like that as well. So, give or take. Cool. So now we have, how to light up a night city. So let's go ahead and just do some cool camera moves to this, because why not? So we've got this set to a 24. I think I like that. But the cool thing is before I start messing with everything, let's just make a copy and look through that camera. Is should be able to come down here to like almost the ground level, right? and it should look cool. Now, our actual ground looks stupid because it's just plain white. So what I'm going to do is just grab our panels black, or actually just floor. Just throw that floor on our plane. There we go. And maybe tile it like 100 by 100, because we're really stretching it out. That should look a lot cooler. A lot more grid-like. Yeah. So, now we have this really cool grid piece. All our lights are affecting the GI of everything. All right, I like this, but let's say I think my light panels are a little intense. So let's go into there, and we have our color, our like base map here. And what I want to do is add a ramp. So I just want to clamp this down and see what this is really looking like. So if I put this in here, and I grab that and I throw that into the emission color as well, it should make it white for one, because it's going to make it black and white. And I should be able to clamp this down and have it have just like a little more detail. See, like that? So if I maybe make it a little bit like this, we can kind of get this in between. So we'll clamp this up, and we get some like, it kind of just breaks it up a little bit and makes it less like intense in your face. So yeah, we can maybe even come in here and add another color in here. Like maybe we'll do like pink in there, but then we'll make this blue like that. And we could probably even make these like step so they're less. Okay, so after much fiddling around, having a little gap in between the two colors actually makes it look kind of like a nice panel. It looks like there's like logos and stuff on it, so I like the way that's looking. So I'm going to do it like that. So step, interpolation, pink, black, blue. I like that. And I can still come in here and maybe increase the weight of it a little more, so it just pops a bit more, like so. Come in here, you can lower the threshold of that bloom just a bit. I don't love that our sky is still creating that weird little glow back there from the sun, so we're going to go back to our dome light and go back and turn off our sun. Then we're going to go to our dome light and lower the saturation of it quite a bit, so it's just kind of more muted, like that. So now we have this nice, diverse looking city. Save. And the cool thing is we can come in here. We've got this, and we can completely change it if we want to. Change the seed, whatever. We have infinite cities. We can throw it on a planet, a sphere. It's very modular, procedural. We can change the scale of the buildings. We can make them, some get higher, some get smaller if we want, if we think it's too big. And so now we've got that. So we can just come in here and do more of an angle like this. And look down, and we have this cool, sweeping neon cityscape. Yeah, I like the way that blue and pink turned out a lot. And obviously, just depending on where you set up your scene and your lights, you might need to adjust where your other little lights are. But we can come down here pretty low and get in here. We can get like pretty much down on ground level if we want to. And look at these. But let's go ahead and do like, let's go like right above the main building, right? And do one of these like swooping kind of, like one of those moves. That looks cool. So now you have this city that you can just build with and play with if you want. You can make that brighter. Make it pink, tighter. Yeah, maybe like that. 0.2. Yeah, something like that. So now, you can come here and fly over the scene. You get a nice cityscape look. You've got a nice loop. I mean, you can come into your camera and make it really crazy, like a 12, like a real fisheye. Get in here closer and have like these really, really cool looking shots. So yes, it took a while to get there, but now we have so much we can play around with that it's worth it, right? That's cool. That was a very trippy effect. Super cool. We can do really tight shots, not 3,000, 300. It could be like on a rooftop of a building. We can shoot through the rails, like looking out. Oof, gosh. Let's see. Yeah. Get it right here on the corner of this. Look down. Okay. We could do like a 50 mil. Let's get on this rooftop here and just kind of look out over the roof if we wanted to, like this. Out over a building. Where's our guy? He's still here somewhere. He's been here the whole time. And we're going to use the placement tool and we'll pop him in right here. Click and hold until he shows up here. There we go. And now look at him looking out over his city. But yeah, you put a little Batman in there or something. There he is. We'll hide him. We'll leave him in there. But yeah, you can completely... Oh my gosh, this is so cool. Now I just want to play around with it. Now you're like, well, what about rain? I'm done. I'm done with this tutorial, okay? We'll do that later. But yes, this looks awesome. Super cool. Ooh, look, we found the world edge here. So let's go ahead and take this and increase it to higher. And maybe that's even better. Can make it thicker. We can still go 0.001 or even 0.001. Like so. But yeah, let's go back to our original camera. Oh, that's like in an alleyway. That's crazy. Camera. Very cool looking city there. Go back to 3,500 here. Sorry, 35,000. So after a lot of fiddle farting around, which is 90% of 3D work when you don't have a plan, basically, I mean, you have like, you're just looking for an idea. So like the thing with me is like I come from a video background. So I never really created things. I just like looked at what I had and then thought of ways to capture it. So when it comes to 3D, I build it and without the intent of like how I'm going to film it at first. So I just build it and then I think about how I'm going to film it. So we're going to go with a camera that's 150 lens here. And we're going to zoom out just a bit here. And I want to put this, super building here kind of in this third, right? So if you go to your display and you turn on your grid, you can, kind of line things up how you want them. And that looks pretty cool. So now we're going to take that, go to optical, turn on bokeh, take the focus distance, slap it here on this building, right? Nice. Camera, focus distance, click. It's not working. So we're going to go with click to focus and click right here. Super duper cool. Take this camera and lower that down to like 4. I want some of these to blur out, so maybe even lower 2. Maybe even 1. And we can just rotate just a bit, make it a little less geometric. Let's go into our fog material. And maybe we go in here and we just grab that ramp. We pull it down a bit more. So after a lot of fiddling around and finagling and moving the camera around, trying trial and error, that kind of thing, what I've realized is that this building is clipping into this pretty bad. So we're going to grab this real quick. We want to grab this one, yeah. And we're just going to slide it over because I don't want it to clip into that building. It's more like that. Yeah. And that's fine. This doesn't look cool. Okay, so we've gotten to the point in the project where we should step away. I keep tweaking it and deleting it. It's been an hour since you've seen me last, though it's just been seconds to you. I just keep moving the camera around. I've tried a bunch of different things. I've tried messing with going back to the other lights, going back to these things. Like here's my original, I still think this top camera looks really cool. And this is a nice, neat one. And we'll go back to the camera we're in, which wherever I've put that, moving things around. And we've still got our original camera still back on this building, which I think looks cool. But now we've got this camera, and all I want to do with this camera is I played around with the attenuation of the fog, just a smidge. Basically, I wanted it to be, if I crank that up just a bit more, like it's going to bring that haze up a bit. But I like having that haze and some of the clouds here from the sky, the dome light. So we've got that going. I think that looks pretty cool. And then I just want something here in the foreground. And maybe I just need to just bring in a building in, right? Okay, so I spent probably like an hour. I just wanted something here in the foreground that felt like there's too big of an empty space right here in my city. So I found a giant building and put a rail right here. I could have just put a rail up there floating, but I think that just makes you feel like there's a building here that's kind of designery, and that's all I want. That's all I wanted from that whole thing. So now let's do the final touches on this scene. Good gravy. Cool. Scroll this up, go to here. Always do LUTs, turn that on, boom. Then my favorite is filmic, but you can play around with it. But filmic, medium, high, convert to log. There we go. You can see without it. With it, it's just kind of a S-curve basically, but you can try all kinds of different things, right? Pretty cool. Warm Titan, totally different vibe, right? LUTs can be very powerful. Cine style, carbon is a good one, but let's just do medium, high. We'll put it about halfway, and then we'll do color correct. Turn that on, and just a smidge of contrast and bring down that and bring up our highlights just a smidge there. It's pretty much the same stuff over and over again. We can actually grab the very bottom of this and pull it up just to brighten up our shadows just a bit. So they're not pure black, but I don't know. We don't need that. Cool. Bloom we can really, mess with. Streak, I think, is a cool one. I love streak. Streak is what we've got going on here. Like so. There we go. Nice. So now we've got this kind of how we want it, right? And we did all that stuff with the fog and stuff, and it's not there. And so now we sit here and we say, okay, do we want the fog there? Is that fog worth it to be there. So let's come in here to our material, open up our fog material, just here, and change it to sort of a grayish purple, maybe a little paler, like so. And then we want to decide, okay, do we want it to ramp back that way? Do we want to leave it at 1.2 in that, so it's just kind of flatter like that? Or do we want to do like 0.2 here and have it be more like that? Or we just want it all to be 1, 1, and 1, and just kind of like that, but change the seed up the octaves. You can tweak things forever, right? Let's go ahead and say 0.5 for that. And that should make them longer. Change the seed because I don't know what I'm looking at here. Let's make them tall, so I don't want that. Keep that at 1 and say 0.5 and 0.5. That's not bad. It's too much because of this light. Yeah, and that's kind of the thing. It's like, at what point is our fog just too much? Like, maybe we should just have it be constant and not even really, like, just be constant like that, and go in here and take this down to like 0.001. 0.01. It's like, is that better just for this little glow? Or do we go back into our noise and make it, you know, more black again? I'm doing this on my off screen, but I think you get it. It's really comes down to like, you just got to stop fiddling around at some point. 0.25. And I think that's it. That's it. So we've got it figured out, and it's, you know, totally up to you. It's just personal choice. And so now we have this camera set up, which is cool, and our environment's up. Let's do like 0.2. Okay. And now we can say, okay, well, do we want to add depth of field to this or what? And this tutorial is just, it's just like a whole process at this point. Like, okay, 15. What if I did a 24 millimeter lens? What if I did 35? What if I did 50? What if I did 8? It's kind of cool. What if I did 12? Let's go back. What if I did a 14? I don't mind that, but we're going to go back to an 18. Yeah, 18 is what I like. And so now, you know, we can make a copy of that. We can animate it. We could fly it through. We could just, God, we can do anything with this. That's what's cool. So we can come in here. We could just do a whole new look. It's like up here, right? So these moves like over a city. Whoosh. I mean, that's cool. I've moved my camera around and stuff. I thought I finally had it. I was like, this is it. This is the shot. This is what I want. And then I just started wiggling the camera around again, and I kind of think that this shot, right, like right here between these buildings, like that's cool. So maybe I should walk away and come back and get something to eat, because I want it to really be cool. And another thing I want to do is I'm going to grab all of these panels, panel, black, metal, iron, glass, and I'm going to put like 0.5 metalness on all of them. It's going to up our render time, but it's going to make everything look shinier, which I think is going to be pretty cool. I think this is the camera angle I like, because I like the way that building looks back there. It's like a subject, you know? Yeah. Okay, so I fiddle farted around, and I'm looking at this, and I'm going to go ahead and turn on my grid underneath the display of the camera. I like the way these are lining up with stuff. I think this is good. Yep, I like this. So now I can come in here, and now, since I have the sun back there, I can look at flare, and I can get a flare from that sun. I can be like, is that something I want? Yes, it is. Definitely. Size, it's pretty small. Halo, tiny halo. Intensity, not too much, like that. So there we go. Now we have this cool scene. Let's grab one of these orange lights that we have and bring it. Grab an orange light. We'll hit save. Grab that and bring it in over here. Kind of closer to my camera. Turn this off. Bring this over. And go to our top view. And our camera's way over here now. So we're going to grab this orange light and just bring it down over here. There's our camera. Lost it. Camera. Right there. Oh. It's actually really close. And this orange light is here. There's our camera. So we're going to go ahead and grab this and pull it in. So it kind of maybe will light up this building a bit. Yeah. I mean, that's a lot. And, you know, it's different. Like, I don't always do these types of tutorials. And, but sometimes I just like to play around and troubleshoot and have fun. And I like the way this one turned out a lot. So that was a lot, right? Like that was a lot of troubleshooting, a lot of finagling. But the cool thing is now we're left with so many opportunities to do cool stuff, right? Like we can still come in here, animate a camera. We can copy this camera, change the angle, experiment. Because we've built such a cool foundation, we have the ability to do whatever we want. So we could do a 35mm lens and really, zoom out. And maybe that's going to look cooler. And then I'm like, yeah, that does look cooler. Is that what I want to do? So now which is cool because we have the option to do all this stuff, and we could do like a big panning shot, whatever you want. So maybe we'll do some animations in the next lesson or something if we want to continue this, because this is dope. I like it. I'd rather have more options than I know what to do with than be limited to only being able to create a certain thing because of the way we built it, right? So yeah, I mean, we've got lots of options here for cool stuff, which is great. Wish a shot like that would look cool. Oops. Right. Very cool. Let's go back to this. It's pretty cool though. Again, thank you to sponsoring Skillshare. Thank you for sponsoring this video. Definitely check out that. And I have another class that is more concise and straight to the point, that uses free models that are available inside of Cinema 4D on Skillshare. You can sign up and take that class and my other Skillshare stuff as well. So cool, check that out. Okay, so I've finally gotten to a point where I'm pretty happy with it. I'm probably going to make a bunch of different takes of it and do some animation and stuff in it. But I think what we have created here in this long video brought to us by Skillshare, and with the awesome assets of Kitbash, the cool thing is we can come in here, throw in different buildings, change the seed, get a completely different look, different seed, and we're always going to have what looks like a pretty believable city that we can actually move around in and stuff and fly around in and add more things on top of it. And really, we've created this really cool scene in a way that's like it's very versatile, which is great. So if I want to make like a series of these, change the colors, do whatever, totally can. And I can take all the buildings and just swap them out with new buildings and have a completely new aesthetic make it daytime. Like, let's just go ahead and save it. Go to File, save incremental, and then let's just go ahead and just make a daytime one real quick. So let's go ahead and take our dome light and make it like sort of orangish, like that. Crank it up to like 1, and go into our fog. Just turn our fog off, and we have that. And we could go into our emissive lights here and turn everything down a bit to like maybe just 1. Right? And now we have this cool nighttime thing. We can turn our fog back on if we want, which also looks pretty cool. And we can, again, take this fog and make it kind of more, more based on our actual lighting here. So let's say like 1, turn the attenuation off. And then we have kind of, a foggy, cloudy sky. So completely different vibe just by making a few tweaks, which is pretty cool. So let's say like 0.1, like that. And then here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to replace all of these with just different Kitbash buildings and do that. And I'll show you that real quick. But pretty much this is it. Very, very cool. It's just super cool. Neat. All right, cool. Thanks for watching. If you stuck around this long, thank you very much. Be sure to join the Discord. And now I have glasses on because I finally took a break. So let's just talk about real quick how to make that camera move that I made in the beginning. We've come a long way. We've got so many options. I'm probably going to keep playing around with this. The cool thing is we can actually just come in and probably replace the models and do like different buildings. I might even try that. We'll see. And I'll add that on there if I do. So here's how we do the camera move, right? We've got a camera. We've got a framed up 18mm lens. Totally fine. We have some real shallow depth of field on it with like a not too far thing in focus. We could leave or take that, honestly. It's not a big deal. Big thing with the camera move is you want to make sure inside of the Redshift tab you have motion blur on. That's all you gotta do. And so here's how we do it. Well, the camera sits here, and on that camera we have a vibrate tag. And so with this vibrate tag, we just have the position going a little bit, and the main thing is the frequency is low, and the rotation is a little low. And we can play around with that. So we have a null. If we look at this, we've got our null right here, and it goes from here to there. And that's all the null does. And so basically, we just have our camera inside of there. So the way I do that is you set your camera up how you want it. You go into the coordinates, you right click this P and copy that, go into your null, paste all of that, and then you take your camera, put it into the null and zero out your camera. And once you put the vibrate tag on, it's going to unzero out everything, but you'll be fine. And that's really it. So now when we have our camera and that on there and we hit play, it's just going to move from one spot to the other while the camera does its wiggly thing, which is cool. So we can actually come back in here. And if we want to, we say we want it to be, let's do more, whatever this rotation is. And we'll hit play on that. And it's probably going to rotate around a lot more, like spin. And that's obviously way too much. Now, the weird thing with this is it'll never go back to where it was. Like undo just doesn't work. It doesn't care. And so working with the vibrate tag, it should always be the last step because it's super frustrating. Now, the cool thing is you can still come in here and fix your rotations and stuff like that before you come in here and launch things. But we could say we want more of this rotation. We're going to come in here and it's going to go left and right a lot more to look around our city. So we could be like looking around. That's kind of cool. It's too much. Like you're gonna get sick doing that. Again, Control Z, and then not in the same spot. So you have to fix that once again. 0, right? And then take this down and maybe over just a smidge more like that. Okay, cool. And then we come in here and let's say we do this one more. But we go negative, right? So it should look down more. So we have this nice kind of look up, and then it goes up more. So you can keyframe that, lower the frequency of that, but you're just going to get weird stuff. So maybe like 0.1, come back here, and it's a little more Blade Runner-y. Kind of cool. And you're at the mercy of the randomness, right? And then you can just change the seed. You get a completely different look. Might be cool though. It's not bad. I love this quick flyby for that building. And that's it. And so now you may take a look at this. I'm just going to talk about the final fog settings because holy crap, we mess around with fog a lot in this. And I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page and they know exactly how I got what I got. Because that's the whole point of a tutorial, right? Besides teaching you how to make it on your own. I just want to show you what I did so that you have that in case you want to make what I made. Boom. So you'll see we have, it's a lot darker, right? So what I did is we have our dome light. And what I did with my dome light was I, just have it at 1. It's totally like how it was. Like it's set up, didn't adjust it at all really or anything. And the main difference came into the fact that I left it a white rather than pink or whatever. And I came into my environment, and this is really where I started playing around with what really made the difference. And honestly, it's all in between the attention value and the emission fog color value. And that makes all the difference. We've got our scatter all the way up to 1, so we get these nice pockets from all of our lights in the city. And then with this, if you come in here and, make this black, obviously we're going to lose that haze. And this is what it looks like without fog, right? Take this off, no fog at all, and now it's like way too bright. So we want that dark fog to come in by adding that attenuation, because that looks cool. And then we want this to come in and be blue. You can make it super blue, cyan blue, but you want to stay probably somewhere in the middle of this box versus like all the way one side or the other. And that's just going to give you more of that cooler vibe. So I like this kind of like muted dark grayish blue. And then if we you crank this up too high, which doesn't take much, like 0.01 too high, unless this is what you like, but we can't see very far. So let's go ahead and add another 0 in there, 0.001, and maybe that's too bright. We've got too much of that fog and light coming in, but maybe that's what you like. Maybe that's not too bad. We can also lower the scattering here as well, which at that point, that's pretty cool. So it's a balancing act, right? And let's go ahead and 0.00 like 8. Too much. 0.0025 I think is what I ended up, or 0.003. 0.003 was like, I want to see this building back here, so like 0.0026. And they're very small, stupid numbers. But there we go. And then we can up this, maybe like 0.5. And that brings in a little more of that haze from that. And now maybe we take this back down and we just say 0.002, 0.0015. And that's not bad, right? So we can still see the outline of that cool big building back there. We've got these pockets. You can see our fog here in the beginning. We can go to the end frame-ish area. And you see we've got these nice pockets. And there might be just too much fog. So let's bring the scattering down to like 0.05. 0.1? Is that what that was at? 0.25. I think it was at 0.5, right? Let's do 0.25. Yeah. So somewhere along there, because the thing you have to remember with the IPR is that your fog always kind of builds on slowly. So it looks like it's not very intense right here. But if we were to do like a bucket render of right there with our little render region in the bucket, we're going to see this fog is actually going to be probably a little brighter than what it looks. And honestly, for the render settings of this, what I rendered out, it's not too bad. It's about what we like, but look how clean it is. It's fantastic with that denoiser. So render settings for this, low with denoiser on optics. The only thing with that is you want to make sure you have the random noise pattern checked off. Otherwise, you'll get some random noise for that, which might cause some issues with the denoising. But with motion blur and stuff on and how fast we're moving, you probably wouldn't even notice. But yeah, that looks, I think it's going to look pretty good. And you could do medium if you want. It doesn't take too long to render. We can go ahead and do a test. Let's go like halfway through. If you want to see your motion blur, you have to do a final render. So we'll go like right there. and you have to do a bucket render. It doesn't show up in IPR. So we'll do a bucket render. This will have our motion blur and everything, and we'll see how long this takes. There we go, 45 seconds. Not bad. And it looks good. So I'm pretty happy with that. We could definitely get away with it on low. This is so cool. I'm so happy with the way it finally turned out. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And then basically what I did is I came in and made a bunch of different takes of this in the render queue and added them with different colors and different fogs just to see what it is. But I'll play around with it even more, and I'll try to switch out the buildings. But if you enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comments below, because I get nervous about putting out these kinds of videos that aren't like, 10 minutes quick tip, kind of like this is how you do this, and this is like a full-fledged project with mistakes.